Welcome, one and all, to Clever Orbits. We have a special podcast this evening. It'll be shorter than usual, but it will be very interesting. We are discussing up to, and mind you, Tyler, listen very carefully to this, the sixth episode, halfway through, of the first season of Stranger Things. I have, in short order, over the course of the past 24 hours, fallen madly in love with this show. I haven't even taken a breath to figure out why, but it is compelling. It is dramatic. Just a kind of flashbulb memory from my experiences of it so far. I thought that at the end of well, anyway, just to be double sure, for anybody who hasn't seen it, you should watch up to the sixth episode because that's what we're going to talk about, and there will be spoilers for the first six. And this is a 4-star show. You should go see it if you haven't. But so at the end of the third episode, there was I really thought this is the direction the show was going. I thought this was exactly what had happened. I made up the story that the body they took from the water was Will's, and that Will was dead. And that was so heart-wrenching that I wept bitterly for about 10 minutes, and the end of it was me face down on my knees praying to God. Now, that doesn't happen to me very often. It doesn't get induced by a show very often. Of course, I have the belief system that if sadness or anger or whatever gets expressed by me, triggered by anything specifically, it was there to begin with, and it was there probably for other reasons than that particular show. That show was just an empathic opportunity for my emotional body to express what was there. So I did express some stuff, and I moved up scale just a little bit, learned a bit, let go of some stuff. But anyway, yeah, the pathos in this show, man? Crazy.
Oh, Lord, it's just so thick and wonderful. Like, all of the characters, all of the actors, and a friend of mine, good friend of mine, my friend Ted, he said it right. Like, the actors, the kids can actually act in this television show. And I think that's the biggest draw, one of the biggest draws. Not any more so than any other headliner like Winona Ryder or David Harbour or any other big-time actor that was cast for this first season, is the fact that these actors, they're all really cool in real life. Like if you see some of the interviews, you can see the kid that plays Dustin, he was cast first because of how weird and cool he was. Dustin? All right. So he's missing his 2 front teeth, top set, and he's got curly hair, and he's reasonably intelligent, reads a lot.
Yeah. Now I know who you're talking about.
And everyone else.
I like all of the big three. I especially like Elle, of course. I mean,
how could you not?
Experiences. Yeah.
She's the superhero.
I'm sure there were tears for her at some point. Well, she's also been so brutalized in very specific and subtle ways in her life. I mean, how often do you get trained to use superpowers by a cruel man who sort of pretends to be your father in order to use you to achieve military objectives? I mean, what? And that kid's 9 or something? 12?
Pretty much.
Sure how old are these kids supposed to be?
They're just about around there. They're, clearly, yeah, it's very hard these days to find kids the exact age that they want portrayed in a TV series. They're all a little bit older than the characters, but I think they're about 12, 11.
Oh, okay. So 11
children.
Is 11 then.
Well, hey, yeah, let's just start there.
I said that because I thought it would be funny. What's her name? The woman who plays Nancy is actually in her 20s, which
Natalia
really,
Dyer.
Yeah, that made me feel a lot better because I was really attracted to her, and then I was like, but wait,
no,
there's something wrong. So I looked it up, and I was like, oh, okay, we're fine, we're all good here. How are you? You know that scene from Star Wars that I always quote, we're all good here.
Oh, Solo all the way. Looking forward to that film, by the way. But anyway, getting back on track. Yeah, What other characters did you? Yeah.
I like.
What did you like?
The Sean Astin character, who I've never met, know nothing about, except for the fact that he's going to be in the show. I've known about him since about 6 a.m.
That's right. You don't know about what happens in season 2. We're discussing everything that happens up to the middle of the 6th episode of season 1. I won't tell you anything except for the fact that Sean Astin is in the series.
Okay, great. So I cannot carry the ring for you, Mr. Frodo, but I can carry you.
Oh, man. You know what? There's a little bit of that because Sean Astin brings a little bit of himself into every character.
Actually, my favorite character that Sean Astin has ever played, you're going to know it before I say it, is the deputy director or whatever of CTU who saves the day and then dies a hurt.
Oh, man. He's such a major dick at first, and then out of nowhere,
rookie ex-girlfriend steals his card, and
big plot device, all of that stuff.
Oh man, I haven't seen
then sacrificed himself.
I haven't seen the greatest season 24 in about a year, maybe 2. I think it's nearing time. You know those things that you watch regularly, like all of Dollhouse once a year, or 24 season 5. Like those are things that you return
Breaking
to.
Bad.
They're just so good. Yeah. Well, Breaking Bad, that's a commitment, and if I allow myself to get into that, it'll. Are you watching Breaking Bad right now?
I already finished watching it.
Oh.
Yeah, it was a working out on my bike, reading captions, and cooking food type of ordeal. And I cook food and ride my bike a lot, so it was easy.
Yeah. Well, so anyway, back to Stranger Things. We veered off. Veer off.
Veer back on.
I like and you'll be able to tell me about this probably. I like the 80s music, like not just the actual 80s music, but what I think is music created by the people on the show using synthesizers in order to sound like the 80s. Is that correct? Is that what's going on?
Pretty much, yeah, because you'll notice, a lot of the sounds, a lot of the beats, and the sound effects, it just feels like you're watching a movie or TV show in the 80s.
But it's self-conscious is a really cool thing. And they're not beat for beat stealing songs like they are using songs, but they're also creating their own stuff. So it's kind of like post-80s music.
Yeah, like any TV show, but they're really leaning into the 80s motif for this. Yeah, which I love. The opening sequence is one of my favorite in all of television.
Oh, where the guy is... you mean
the title sequence?
Okay, yeah. I was thinking of the one where the guy was in the tunnel, sort of part of the energy building, and then he gets taken from above. It was just like, okay, well, he ran away from nothing. I also like that Demogorgon has no face and is like a bunch of...
the face is a mouth and teeth.
Yeah, it's like a big mouth thing. Not clear exactly what's going on with that. But
evocative of every creepy, just ghoulish monster you could think of from back in the day, or even like something you might have imagined under your bed when you're 6.
I don't think I would have ever imagined that for any reason.
Yeah, me neither. But apparently other kids are.
Apparently someone somewhere. Oh yeah, that's another thing I love is the backdrop of Dungeons and Dragons. Like it really makes me curious about Dungeons and Dragons. And
I always have been. I never get a chance to play, but yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not sure that I want to go as far into the world as like playing. I think I'd watch like an hour-long documentary on it or something that explained it and gave me some more detail. But I like that because it's a subtle kind of nod to fantasy at the same time as it gives our characters a means of relating to the plot as it develops. Like it gives them kind of a vocabulary and like...
Right. That's part of the reasonable intelligence that these children display as kids in the series. like they all related back to what they really are most passionate about, and they really love playing D&D together. And that's
they go based on what they know. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's really cool because D&D covers such a wide array and aspect of fantasy, to the point where a lot of creatures, a lot of people, like their intentions, their abilities, so many different ideas are explained so thoroughly that them being able to find just the one term that they can think of that fits this monster perfectly, like Demogorgon. I thought it was really cool. I looked it up after.
So yeah,
details.
I think it's interesting. I was really touched by the moment after Nancy loses her virginity to Steve, which is funny that his name is Steve. It's kind of a nondescript name, but no offense, Stephen Lewis Curtin.
Yeah, all good Stevens. You will come to an end, but you're all much better than the Stevens.
Steve ultimately is one of those like good old American names that probably are held by hundreds of thousands of people for sure.
Yes, his middle name is Stereotype.
Yeah, and I think the character's meant to be kind of nondescript.
Right.
In fact, a lot of what's going on in this show is reference to tropes from television or from just what you would expect in high school. You get the bullies, you get the geeks and nerds, you get the kind of people trying to be, regular, normal, and perfect, like Nancy, and then she starts hanging out with the not the bullies, but the bad crowd, whatever. And I actually kind of like that bad crowd. I kind of like, I don't even know their names. The two that always hang out with Steve, they're interesting.
Oh, the Bad Eggs.
Yeah, the Bad Eggs. We can call them that. That'd be a great progressive rock band, the Bad Eggs. But so yeah, there's a watchable quality to it. Like it's just very easy to get into. Oh my God, Winona Ryder's character. That through this whole thing, you know how with Stamets in Into the Forest I Go, I was imagining like my beloved. So I was imagining myself from the doctor's point of view, seeing my beloved suffering through 136 jumps, which is part of why I bawled my eyes out the first time that I saw that episode, because I had that immediate empathy. And so there were two moments of empathy on this show so far that were really strong for me. And as the acting is perfect, the theme, the plot, the music is perfect. And really, I'm beginning to think that the function of fiction and literature is to evoke. It's like Plato said, the purpose of poetry, and that was kind of a stand-in in his day for art, is to evoke emotion. And that's why he thought that it should be kind of taken out of society because it's dangerous. It can cause people to feel emotions out of proportion to reality, or the wrong emotions at the wrong times, or kind of propagandize them and get them acting in ways that are just not helpful. Anyway, so this did that when I, started to imagine what would it be like if, Mom lost us and was questing after finding us and had like this shred of belief that she clung to that, all right, they're okay or he's okay, whatever, but I'm going to keep fighting and trying to figure it out. And so, man, that was kind of tough and interesting.
That's exactly what I pictured. The moment I saw every little fleeting glance of Winona's face, just portraying that grief and sadness at the possibility that, hey, maybe everyone's telling me to accept his death, but I don't want to accept that. I refuse to. I think something's up. I want to figure out what's going on. She's ultimately right. Yeah.
I like the slow burn of this too. I like how it'll give you little bits and pieces, and then it'll go into character stuff, and then the little bits and pieces, like, they're being assembled. And this is kind of what you see in the opening sequence. The letters of the message of the show are very slowly, deliberately coming together over time. And they're not there together immediately. You kind of have to assemble them in order to figure out what the message is. You could be wrong, and some time and some patience. for the show to assemble itself, really, in the mind of the viewer, which I really liked, and that's part of why I feel like I had a podcast, because that thought was just too precious. I was just like, yep, that's what's going on. Great. So
yeah, that's part of it. The mystery of the series. That's the biggest part of it. Finding those answers as you keep watching. The outline. It's like a neon sign being assembled. I love the way that looks. Yeah.
Incidentally, being in signage, that is not at all how a neon sign would be assembled, but I get what you're saying.
Not physically in a factory. Title sequences work differently.
Totally.
Different physics.
Have you done any research into the creators?
The Duffer Brothers?
Yeah, what the heck's going on with that?
Well, you can actually listen to a lot of what they have to say about character and how they wanted to like actually build this mythology in the series in an after show called Beyond Stranger Things that examines the second season afterwards. It's also available on Netflix.
I've seen
but
it.
The Duffer Brothers
recommended to me, actually.
Yeah. Like I didn't really notice too much in the way of what kind of vision they had before they put together Stranger Things, like their work before that. But no, they came from an era that they grew up in and understood better than most, and so when they were putting together the series, they sort of had a boots on the ground, sort of personal experience to draw from in order to create the world that Stranger Things sort of inhabits.
Are you saying they had direct personal experience of the Demigorgon or the 80s?
Shoot, maybe both. I don't know. You see them talk, they're very ecstatic. Yeah.
Probably they have had experience with the Demigorgon via Dungeons and Dragons.
Right, yeah. They also had that experience as well. So they're drawing from a lot of things they know. And it's put together quite beautifully.
I'm also holding out the possibility that the fact that the Demigorgon, or whatever, manifests in the external world, and we've also got what you call the upside down, like the fact that matches their concept from D&D so closely, it suggests to me the possibility that this is all in somebody's head, and the universe is happening according to what you would expect from someone who plays D&D. Like otherwise, fit is good, but it's like a little too close. It's like, well, but really, I mean, I'm not even going to say that it's too close necessarily. I like the show. I'll follow the show. I'll go where it takes me. I don't mind.
I can see where you're coming from. And me too. I'm going to eat this stuff up no matter how many seasons it lasts, which is apparently only going to be 4 or 5. But there is a 3rd season coming, so get excited. Yeah. May not be for a while, 1.5 years, but yeah.
Oh, yeah, because they take their sweet time with this stuff.
Oh, yeah. They want to get it right. See Rick and Morty Season 3, which I know you haven't seen, but anyone who's listening will probably know.
Let's talk about how sweet the time is that they've taken. It was 2 girlfriends ago that I was getting the recommendation to watch Stranger Things from my now ex-girlfriend, who was an introduction leader for Landmark. She was like, "This is the best thing ever. You should watch it." And then
I got the same thing when I was working on A Few Good Men, NOLA Project's A Few Good Men, 10 months ago. The stage manager was just baffled that I hadn't yet seen the show. Just like, and then the director in turn came from a different perspective and said, "Yeah, but I think we really sort of we glorify and sort of elevate something that's not quite at an echelon that we're putting it, that we're elevating it to." Like it's nostalgia isn't all that great sometimes. Basically, what it boiled down to, what he was saying.
Nostalgia is interesting, though. It really
it is. Yeah.
And I don't think it's even necessarily nostalgia. It's a historical fiction. Like it's a documentary horror sci-fi fiction. And what I mean is, they try to get the 80s part as right as possible. There's Baudrillard would probably say there's even a hyper reality. Like the fact that they're trying to get it so right that they even create new 80s music, like that's so real that it's more than real, and it's actually no longer real anymore. Like it's no longer realistic. To the extent that someone with subtle distinctions is paying attention, like, oh, I see. Well, yeah, that's a whole nother rabbit trail, though. We'll talk more about Baudrillard when we do the Matrix trilogy. But this is the first Clever Orbits episode about a show other than Star Trek, and I think it's gone very well. I think it's the appropriate length. I think we should conclude by talking about where we think it's going to go next. And if you could do that about the future of the show from season 2 on, which I'm sure you've already seen, in the vaguest and most general possible terms, spoiling nothing, I'd be really curious if you could meet that challenge. And then for me, I'd say I'm really excited to see how it comes together. I really love it. It's like my new favorite show, and it's a great escape. Like, it's really brilliant and beautiful and fun, and I think what works most is the characters and the plot. And everything else is nice, but those two elements working in harmony and both being super powered, like, just make it glorious and excellent. So anyway, now for your challenge.
My challenge. What was that again?
Talk about the future of the series from after season 2 without spoiling anything.
Oh, without spoiling anything. Fun, so let's see. All right. I think things are going to get even deeper, more convoluted. It's going to be bigger and on a grander scale than previous seasons. And I don't think I can do this. I just don't want to spoil anything for anyone who hasn't seen it, but more importantly for my brother.
Yeah. Don't worry, I've got at least 16 hours if I want to watch it tomorrow.
Yeah, you can in fact, and I highly recommend the after show for season 2 if you complete season 2, Beyond Stranger Things, hosted by Jim Rash, one of my favorite comedic actors out there. He's every bit as excited about the show as we are, and it shows. But yeah. Oh yeah, it
was kind of a meta podcast comment I wanted to make. Usually when you mention a few good men, I make my joke that you should have played a few of those good men, and then everybody listening to the podcast rolls their eyes. I've been re-listening to our podcast, and I make a lot of the same jokes. And it's just
but here's the thing, they're yours to make.
Well, no, here's the thing. People are going to hear them and be like, okay, man, I'm tired of your podcast. I'm done. Cancel culture like that. I just don't want that opportunity to be there at all. So,
well,
anyway.
We could streamline the jokes, but I don't think you should cut them. I think they make you endearing to your audience.
I won't cut. Yeah. I won't cut my jokes. I'll just cut the jokes that I've already told.
Hey, fair enough.
Yeah. So we will have a long string of content available for you guys very shortly. Very entertaining, very enjoyable. We've got all of the first season of Discovery up already, and I think we might have another popcorn-style kind of ad hoc, off-the-cuff discussion of Stranger Things, end of Season 1 and Season 2, if you're up for that, Tyler, because I'm sure I'll want to talk to somebody.
Wholeheartedly. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, man.
Love the show.
It is in the contemplation of art that we find our humanity and that existence is justified, to quote several different philosophers and not name them. But, yeah, all right. I'm going to go back to it, and it's been a pleasure, Tyler. I'm looking forward to our next one.
Ditto, brother. Been fun. What you said.
You don't have the Joe on true this time. I wonder what a Stranger Things goodbye would be.
Be careful.
Yeah, this is
to coin him.
Yeah. It has been since like 2007 or whatever. It's always kind of weird. But no, there's not anything to be that scared of. Okay, anyway.
I've got one.
Right.
I got one. A goodbye. See you all around the upside down.
That That was so corny that I'll let it stand. All right. Good night, you guys.
Right? See ya.
Oh, no.